Hare, Hare Krishna. We'll start with small Kirtan for a couple of minutes. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Yeshodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yeshodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanajari Yamuna Tira Vanajari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Is it okay to start, Prabhu?
Prabhu, I think we'll start because I think there are 8 verses today, right? It may take a few extra minutes as well. So
Yeah.
people will
Hare
hope
Krishna.
join by that time. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, welcome to all the devotees and my pranams. So, we are, by Krishna's mercy, we are going to start the ninth chapter of the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, in the last 1 minute. Yeah. So, in the last chapter, which is the eighth chapter, there were questions which were asked by Parikshit Maharaj. And this chapter is basically the answers to those questions. And we have eight shlokas today, and all of them are having, most of them are having long purports. So, yeah, let's, by Krishna's mercy, let us try to read and understand. So the questions of Parikshit Maharaj are basically about the cosmic manifestation, basically about how Lord Brahma got the ability to do the Srishti, and also different things about the overall human nature and other things. So let us, these eight shlokas are more about how Lord Brahma dedicated himself and prayed and did tapasya before getting the ability before getting the knowledge to do the creation. So the first shloka for today, Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, ninth chapter, shloka number 1. So we will please try to repeat after me. Sri Sukha Uvacha Atmamāyāmrite Rajan
आत्ममायामृते राजन्
Parasa Anubhavatmanaha
परस्यानुभवात्मनि
Na Gate Tartha Sambandha
न
न
कृतेतार्थसम्बन्धः
Swapnadrashtur Ivanjasa.
स्वप्नद्रष्टुरिवाञ्जसा.
Hare Krishna. So the meaning of this, yes, Prabhu? Okay.
Prabhu, can I request you to close the video on your screen? I am anyway recording along with your video, so we will be able to see the video on YouTube anyway.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay. Hare Krishna.
I'm saying
So,
not the video. Don't close the video. That small window that is coming on your screen, that you can close it.
okay.
That window you can close it. Close it. That cross mark you can click on that on the right side. Above.
Yeah, Prabhu, I am trying. It is not going 1 minute.
No, not there. You click on the chapter 9. Click there. Now you can see the window on your right side, right? There you
Okay.
click it. Close it. Close it. Click it.
Prabhu, this is what I am trying. It is not
It's not
closing.
going, is it?
Now it has gone.
So I'm recording it here. I have your video on the side also.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Sorry
Thanks.
to disturb you.
No problem. So, the meaning of the shloka is that Sukadeva Goswami says to Maharaj Parikshit, Srila Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. This relationship is just like a dreamer seeing his own body working. So basically, Sukadeva Goswami is telling Maharaj Parikshit, so unless we or we understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and we understand our relationship with Lord Krishna, so all other relationships are not of much use. Anyway, we will understand more by Srila Prabhupada's purport. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So can I request Rao Prabhu to read the first 2 paragraphs? Hare Krishna.
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Purport. Maharaja Parikshit's question as to how a living entity began his material life, although he is apart from the material body and mind, is perfectly answered. The spirit soul is distinct from the material conception of his life, but is absorbed in such a material conception because of being influenced by the external energy of the Lord, called Atma Maya. This has already been explained in the first canto in connection with Vyasadeva's realization of the Supreme Lord and his external energy. The external energy is controlled by the Lord, and the living entities are controlled by the external energy, by the will of the Lord. Therefore, although the living entity is purely conscious in its pure state, he is subordinate to the will of the Lord in being influenced by the external energy of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, also the same thing is confirmed. The Lord is present within the heart of every living entity, and all the living entities' consciousness and forgetfulness are influenced by the Lord. Now, the next question automatically made, will be why the Lord influences the living entity to such consciousness and forgetfulness. The answer is that the Lord clearly wishes that every living entity be in his pure consciousness as a part and parcel of the Lord, and thus be engaged in the loving service of the Lord as is constitutionally made. But because the living entity is partially independent also, he may not be willing to serve the Lord, but may try to become as independent as the Lord is. All the non devotee living entities are desirous of becoming equally as powerful as the Lord, although they are not fit to be become so. The living entities are illusioned by the will of the Lord because they wanted to become like Him, like a person who thinks of becoming a king without possessing the necessary qualification. When the living entity desires to become the Lord Himself, he is put in a condition of dreaming that he is a king. Therefore, the first sinful will of the living entity is to become the Lord, and the consequent will of the Lord is that the living entity forget his factual life and thus dream of the land of Utopia, where he may become one like the Lord. The child cries to have the moon from the mother, and the mother gives the child a mirror to satisfy the crying and disturbing child with the reflection of the moon. Similarly, the crying child of the Lord is given over the reflection, the material world. Sorry. The child cries to have the moon from the mother, and the mother gives the child a mirror to satisfy the crying and disturbing child with the reflection of the moon. Similarly, the crying child of the Lord is given over to the reflection, the material world, to lord it over as karmi, and to give this up in frustration to become one with the Lord. Both these stages are dreaming illusions only. There is no necessity of tracing out the history of when the living entity desired this. But the fact is that as soon as he decided, he was put under the control of Atma Maya by the direction of the Lord. Therefore, the living entity in his material condition is dreaming falsely that this is mine and this is I. The dream is that the conditional soul thinks of his material body as I, or falsely thinks that he is the Lord and that everything in connection with the material body is mine. Thus, only in dream does the misconception of I and mine persist life after life. This continues life after life as long as the living entity is not purely conscious of his identity as a subordinate part and parcel of the Lord.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So Srila Prabhupada very nicely tells that there is no need to do post-mortem about when we came back from the spiritual world to the material world. So the only thing which we need to think of and to work on is that how to get out of this. And then second thing is giving with a nice example of if somebody, if when we try to enjoy, basically we are considering ourselves to be the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada is telling that people try to become, if somebody tries to become king without without the person being qualified, so it is not possible. And he's also Prabhupada is also giving the example of a mother which is giving a mirror if a child is crying for the moon. So we are all in that position. So we try to do things for which we are not constitutionally placed. Our constitutional position is to serve the Lord as his part and parcel, so that when he is happy, we also become satisfied. Whatever um, we are doing so that we become happy. But the only problem is we are searching it in the wrong place. So the identification of body as the self, which is the I and the mind, is creating all the issues which we are going through. So let us go through the next two paragraphs. Can I request Amit Prabhu? Can you read the next two paragraphs? Hare Krishna. Sorry, last paragraph. Sorry. Okay, it's only a small one. In his pure consciousness, however, there is no misconceived dream. And in that pure conscious state, the living entity does not forget that he is never the Lord, but he is eternally the servitor of the Lord in transcendental love. So the servitor of the Lord in transcendental love, this is again something which we have seen several times. Srila Prabhupada also explains in the purport that he wants us to serve him willingly and affectionately and voluntarily, not out of compulsion or with lamentation. So this is the reason why he has given us that limited intelligence so that we can use that and make the decision to serve the Lord in our own willingness. Hare Krishna. Let us move on to the next shloka for the day, shloka number 2. Bahurupa iva bhati mayaya bahurupaya rama mano guneshvasya mamaham iti manyate. So the meaning of the shloka is that the illusioned living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of the Lord. While enjoying in the modes of material nature, the encaged living entity misconceives, thinking in terms of I and mine. I think this we have seen several times. So there are 8.4 million species, types of species, not living, it is not the count, it is a type. So different species has different forms. And while we go through our life, we have a lot of misconceptions when we think the body of the self, and particularly in terms of I and mine. So can I request Amit Prabhu, if you can read the first two paragraphs, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Pur-
Prabhu.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The different forms of the living entities are different dresses offered by the illusory, external energy of the Lord. According to the modes of nature, the living being desires to enjoy the external energy. Material energy is represented by her three modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, even in the material nature, there is a chance of an independent choice by the living entity, and according to his choice, the material energy offers him different varieties of material bodies. There are 900,000 varieties of material bodies in the water, 2 million vegetable bodies, 11 million worms and reptiles, and 10 million forms of birds.
1.1 million
1.1
and 1
million,
million.
1 million forms of bodies, and 3 million different bodies of beasts, and 400,000 human forms. Altogether, there are
8,
8
yeah, yes,
million 400,000
Prabhu.
varieties of bodies in different planets of the universe. And the living entity is traveling by so many transmigrations according to the different bodies of enjoying spirit within himself. Even in one particular body, the living entity changes from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, from youth to old age, and from old age to another body created by his own action. The living entity creates his own body by his personal desires, and the external energy of the Lord supplies him to exact form by which he can enjoy his desires to the fullest extent. The tiger wanted to enjoy the blood of another animal, and therefore, by the grace of the Lord, the material energy supplied him the body of the tiger with facilities of enjoying blood from another animal. Similarly, a living entity desiring to get the body of a demigod in higher planet can also get it by the grace of the Lord. And if he is intelligent enough, he can desire to get spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord, and he will get it. So the minute freedom of the living entity can be fully utilized, and the Lord is kind that He will award the living entity the same type of body he desires. The living entity's desiring is like dreaming of a golden mountain. A person knows what a mountain is, and he knows also that what gold is. Out of his desires only, he dreams of a golden mountain. And when the dream is over, he sees something else in his presence. He finds in his awakened state that there is neither gold nor a mountain, and what to speak of gold and mountain. The different positions of living entities in the material world under multifarious manifestation of bodies are due to the misconception of mine and I. The karmic thinks of this world as mine, and the jnani thinks I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned soul is on the basis of the misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy material life, identification with the body, and the place where the body is obtained under different conception of socialism, nationalism, family affection, and so on and so forth, is all due to the forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity. And the whole misconception of the bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as all this explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So there are 3 or 4 things which Srila Prabhupada is explaining in this wonderful purport. First is he's very clearly telling that our body is like a dress. Vasamsi jirnani viharani. So every day we change our dress. So we don't think that our dress is our body. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that we change our dresses every birth. We change our we change our form every birth. So our body is like a dress. So we should not think it to be the self, number one. And within this life itself, the body changes from the birth to young age, to youth, to young age, and then to old. All of us know this. There is no need for us to explain or to go into detail. So, when so much of transformation is happening, we should understand that the body is not something which is permanent. So, at the same time, we should not neglect the body also, because this is given by the Lord to use it to cross over this form, this ocean of nescience, cross over this human life, so that we don't take birth again and again. And then out of the 8.4 million species, Srila Prabhupada is giving a breakup of the different types of species which are found in the water, plants, worms and reptiles, animals, birds, and human beings, things like that. So this is the first thing which Srila Prabhupada is explaining about the temporary nature of our body. And then the second thing is that within our conception, Srila Prabhupada also explains that there are 2 kinds of misconceptions we have. One is that mine means everything belongs to Lord Krishna, but we consider it to be mine, means getting out of our own hard work or whatever it is. So this is the first misconception because of the identification of the body. Then Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains there is a higher level of misconception, but it is also a misconception, stating that I am the Lord. So there are 2 things. One is mine and another is I. So mine is thinking that whatever is there belongs to me. This is a lower level of misconception. And then Prabhupada is telling that there's a higher level of misconception that I am the Lord, I. So both mine and I are totally wrong. So these are the things which we need to understand and we need to be mindful of. So we may think that, no, what is this, Prabhu? I don't consider myself as the Lord. But many a times we think that whatever we have today is because of my hard work, is because of my intelligence, is because of my capability. And coming to the I, we have also different misconceptions. I am the breadwinner. I am the head of the family. So like that, we have that miniature, what shall I say, versions of the Lord's misconceptions. And this is what we need to be mindful of and try to stay away with that and keep always in mind that whatever we have, it is from the Lord. And I, if there's a true definition of I, the only true definition is that I am the eternal servant of Lord Krishna. So let us move ahead to the next shloka for the day, which is shloka number 2.9.3. Yerhi vava mahimni swe परस्मिन् कालमाययो रमेत गतसम्मोह त्यक्त्वा त्यक्तोदास्ते तदोभयम्. So the meaning of the shloka is that as soon as the living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory and begins to enjoy the transcendence beyond time and material energy, he at once gives up the two misconceptions of life, I and mine, and thus becomes fully manifested as a pure self. So, as soon as a living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory, so the very nice word is used, constitutional glory, mahimni. The word used in the shloka is mahimni. So what is the glory? The glory is that, constitutional glory is that we are servants of the Lord and we are also his part and parcel. So normally the word servant has a negative connotation. So it means that we are subservient to someone else. But in the spiritual context, being a servant of Lord Krishna and being his part and parcel is described as constitutional glory. So it says when the living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory, means when we actually understand and when we are convinced that we are part and parcel of this Supreme Lord and we are his eternal servant, what happens? The living entity begins to enjoy the transcendence beyond time and energy. So the concept of time and energy is gone. So it doesn't mean that when we are surrendered to Lord Krishna, for example, now, it is not that we don't have 24 hours doesn't apply to us or things like that. What it means is that we don't have the anxiety. We don't constantly think about what will happen tomorrow. We know that Lord Krishna will take care of us so that we will be more and more peaceful and self-satisfied. That is what is the meaning of enjoying the transcendence beyond time and material energy. He at once gives up the two misconceptions of life, I and mine. So this we have already seen. So when we surrender to Lord Krishna, we understand that everything is given by him. And at the same time, the I, that is the mind. Then coming to the I, so we also know that I am the servant. So that is the only true definition. So both the misconceptions are removed and thus becomes fully manifested as the pure self. Means he starts to consider himself as a soul and not the body. This is a very wonderful state to be in, and this is what all of us are trying to progress to so that we go back home, back to Godhead at the end of this life. So let us try to understand more by Srila Prabhupada's purports. Can I request Sushil Kumar Prabhu to read the first two paragraphs? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
The two misconceptions of life, namely I and mine,
are verily manifested in two classes of men. In the lower state, the conception of mind is very prominent, and in the higher state, the conception of I is very prominent. In the animal state of life, the misconception of mind is perceivable even in the category of cats and dogs, who fight with one another with the same misconception of mind. In the lower stage of human life, the same misconception is also prominent in the shape of it is my body, it is my house, it is my family, it is my caste, it is my nation, it is my country, and so on. And in the higher stage of speculative knowledge, the same misconception of mind is transformed into I am or it is all I am, etc. There are many classes of men comprehending the same misconception of I and mine in different colors, but the real significance of I can be realized only when one is situated in the consciousness of I am the eternal servitor of the Lord. This is pure consciousness, and the whole Vedic literatures teach us the conception of life. The misconception of I am the Lord or I am the Supreme is more dangerous than the misconception of mine. Although there are sometimes directions in the Vedic literatures to think oneself one with the Lord, and that does not mean that one becomes identical with the Lord in every respect. Undoubtedly, there is a oneness in the living entity with the Lord in many respects, but ultimately the living entity is subordinate to the Lord, and he is constitutionally meant for satisfying the senses of the Lord. The Lord therefore asked the conditioned souls to surrender unto him. Had the living entities not been subordinate to the supreme will, why would the living entity be asked to surrender? Had the living being been equal in all respects, then why was he put under the influence of Maya? We have already discussed many times that the material energy is controlled by the Lord. The Bhagavad Gita 9.10 confirms this controlling power of the Lord over the material nature. Can a living entity who claims to be as good as the Supreme Being controls the material nature? The foolish I would reply that he will do so in the future. Even accepting that in the future one will be as good a controller of material nature as the Supreme Being, then why is one now under the control of material nature? The Bhagavad Gita says that one can be freed from the control of material nature by surrendering unto the Supreme Lord. But if there is no surrender, then the living entity will never be able to control the material nature. So one must also give up the misconception of I by practicing the way of devotional service of firmly being situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. A poor man without any employment or occupation may undergo so many troubles in life, but if by chance the same man gets a good service under the government, he at once becomes happy. There is no profit in denying the supremacy of the Lord, who is the controller of all energies, but one should be constitutionally situated in one's own glory, namely to be situated in pure consciousness of being the eternal servitor of the Lord. In his conditioned life, the living entity is servant of the illusionary Maya, and in his liberated state, he is pure, unqualified servant of the Lord. To become untinged by the modes of material nature is the qualification of entering into the service of the Lord. As long as one is a servant of mental concussions, one cannot be completely free from the disease of I and mine. Hare
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, again, Srila Prabhupada is very nicely explaining that we need to be mindful of these two misconceptions. One is mine and one is I. So, as we saw before, mine is thinking that things belong to us, and the second is thinking that I am the Lord. So, the first one, mine, is a slightly lower misconception, and the second, I am the Lord, is a slightly higher level of misconception. But Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that the misconception of I, which comes from knowledge, is more dangerous than the misconception of mind. So the best thing where he explains is that the easiest way to be free from these misconceptions is to surrender ourselves to Lord Krishna. Because only when we surrender, we can come over all the material problems and we can overcome these misconceptions. Can I request Pradeep Prabhu to read the next two paragraphs? Hare Krishna. Pradeep Prabhu, are you there? Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhu. Nehal Mataji, Hare Krishna.
I am there, but I'm on the mobile, so I will not be able to read it. That's why, sorry.
Okay,
Very small.
Prabhu. Nehal Mataji, are you able to read? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Prabhuji,
ma'am.
I'm supposed to read from starting now.
What you see on the screen, Hare Krishna.
The Supreme Truth is uncontaminated, purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. The Supreme Truth is uncontaminated by illusory energy because He is the controller of that energy. The relative truth are apt to be engrossed in illusory energy. The best purpose is served, however, when one is directly facing Supreme Truth as when one faces the sun. The sun overhead in the sky is full of light, but when the sun is not in the visible sky, all is in darkness. Similarly, when one is face to face with the Supreme Lord, he is freed from all illusions, and one who is not so is in the darkness of illusory Maya. The Bhagavad Gita 14.26 confirms this as follows: Mam chayo vyabhi bhakti yogena sevate sa gunan samatit yaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So, the science or bhakti yoga of worshipping the Lord, glorifying the Lord, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam from right source, not from the professional man, but from the person who is Bhagavatam in life, and being always in association of pure devotees, should be adopted in earnestness. One should not be misled by conceptions of I and mine. The karmis are found on the conception of mine. The jnanis are found in fond of the conception of I, and both of them are unqualified to be free from the bondage of illusory energy. Srimad Bhagavatam and primarily the Bhagavad Gita are both meant for delivering a person from the misconception of I and mine. And Srila Vyasadeva transcribed them for the deliverance of the fallen souls. The living entity has to be situated in the transcendental position where there is no more influence of time nor of material energy. In conditioned life, the living entity is subjected to influence of time in the dream of past, present, and future. The mental spectator tries to conquer the influence of time by future speculation of becoming Vasudev or Supreme Lord himself by the means of by the means of culturing knowledge and conquering over ego. But the process is not perfect. The perfect process is to accept Lord Vasudeva or the Supreme in everything, and the best perfection is culturing knowledge is to surrender unto Him because He is the source of everything. Only in that conception can one get rid of the misconception of I and mine. Both Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam confirm it. Srila Vyasadeva has specifically contributed to illusioned living entities, the science of God and the process of Bhakti Yoga in his great literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the conditioned soul should fully take advantage of this great science. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So very nicely, Srila Prabhupada explains a couple of things in this purport. So one is that he has referenced the Bhagavad Gita shloka, Mamchayo Vyabhicharena. So means, so the only way in which we can get the real knowledge is by Bhakti Yogena Sevate. Means only when we do Bhakti Yoga. And if we go down in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is telling that if we try to, he's very nicely using the words of culturing knowledge and conquering over ego. He says, the mental speculator tries to conquer the influence of time by future speculations of becoming Vasudeva. So, which means that we try that, okay, today I am suffering, but tomorrow I will not be suffering. This is what is meant by that. And how that person tries to do that? By culturing knowledge and conquering over ego. So I will try and understand all those Vedas and then conquer over ego. So Srila Prabhupada says that this is not going to work. So because even in the Brahma Samhita, there's a shloka, Advaitamachyutamanadimanantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabhamadurlabhamatma Bhaktau Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So he says, Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Manantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabham. Which means if we try to read and understand all the scriptures and then understand Lord Krishna, it is going to be very difficult. Durlabham. So in the same line he says, Adurlabham Atma Bhaktav. But Adurlabham means opposite of Durlabham, which is very easy. Opposite of difficult, which is very easy. He says Atma Bhaktav. So if we wholeheartedly serve Lord and his devotees, we will automatically get the knowledge. So this is what is exactly meant here. So if we try to culture knowledge and then conquer ego, it is not going to happen. The only way in which we can happen is by doing devotional service, serving the Lord and his devotees. And when we do that, automatically the misconception of I and mine will gradually go away. And Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is given to us mainly for the purpose, so that we can read and understand that in the association of devotees and slowly get rid of the misconception. Hare Krishna. So let us go into the next shloka for today, 294. Atma Tattva Vishuddhyartam Yadaha Bhagavan Ritam Brahmane Darshayan Rupam Avyalika Vritatadrataha. The meaning of the shloka is that, O king, means who is telling whom? Sukadeva Goswami is addressing Maharaj Parikshit. O king, the personality of Godhead, being very much pleased with Lord Brahma because of his non-deceptive penance in Bhakti Yoga, presented his eternal and transcendental form before Brahma, and that is the objective goal for purifying the conditioned soul. So he says, Sukadeva Goswami says to Parikshit Maharaj, O king, the personality of Godhead means Lord Krishna, being very much pleased with Lord Brahma. So now he is going to explain as to how Lord Brahma was empowered to do the Srishti. So being very much pleased with Lord Brahma, now let us listen very carefully because of his non-deceptive penance in Bhakti Yoga. Non-deceptive penance. So, for example, when we are doing service, what is the intention? What is our bhava, our consciousness in doing the service? Are we doing something because somebody else has to notice us? Oh, the yatra leader has to see us doing the service. Is that our bhava? Or is it just we are wanting to do service because it is required? So the real service is something which we do because we want to purify ourselves and we want to do that, not because we want to show off to someone else. So this is exactly what is meant here, being very much pleased with Lord Brahma because of his non-deceptive penance, non-deceptive austerity, tapasya. What is it that Lord Brahma did? So we are going to see that. So when he was pleased, then what happened? Lord Krishna presented his eternal and transcendental form before Lord Brahma, means he manifested himself before Lord Brahma. Why he did that? And that is the objective goal for purifying the conditioned soul. He did that for the purpose of purifying Lord Brahma. So let us try to understand more with the help of Srila Prabhupada's purport. Can I request Uday Prabhu to read the first two paragraphs? Hare Krishna. Uday Prabhu, are you there? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Hare
Yes.
Krishna. Sorry, my mic I couldn't get. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Atma Tattva is the science of both God and the living entity. Both the Supreme Lord and the living entity are known as Atma. The Supreme Lord is called Paramatma, and the living entity is called the Atma. The Brahma or the Jiva, both the Paramatma and Jivatma, being transcendental to the material energy, are called Atma. So Sukadev Goswami explains this verse with the aim of purifying the truth of both the Paramatma and the Jivatma. Generally, people have many wrong conceptions about both of them. The wrong conception of the Jivatma is to identify the material body with the pure soul. And the wrong conception of Paramatma is to think him on an equal level with the living entity. But both misconceptions can be removed by one stroke of Bhakti Yoga. Just as in the sunlight, both the sun and the world and everything within the sunlight are properly seen. In the darkness, one cannot see the sun, nor himself, nor the world. But in the sunlight, one can see the sun, himself, and the world around him. Srila Sukadev Goswami therefore says that for purification of both wrong conceptions, the Lord presented his eternal form before Brahmaji. Being fully satisfied by Brahma's non-deceptive vow of discharge, Bhakti Yoga, except for Bhakti Yoga, any method for realization of Atma Tattva or the science of Atma will prove deceptive in the long run. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that only by Bhakti Yoga can one know him perfectly, and then one can enter into the science of God. Brahmaji undertook great penance in performing Bhakti Yoga, and thus he was able to see the transcendental form of the Lord. His transcendental form is 100% spiritual, and one can see him only by spiritualized vision after proper discharge of tapasya or penance in pure bhakti yoga. The form of the Lord manifested before Brahma is not one of the forms with which we have experienced in the material world. Brahmaji did not perform such severe types of penance just to see a form of material production. Therefore, the question by Maharaj Parikshit about the form of the Lord is answered. The form of the Lord is Sakid Sachit Ananda, or eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. But the material form of the living being is neither eternal nor full of knowledge nor blissful. That is the distinction between the form of the Lord and that of the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul, therefore, can regain his form of eternal knowledge and bliss simply by seeing the Lord by means of Bhakti Yoga. The summary
Hare
is that
Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So, basically, in the first two paragraphs, Srila Prabhupada is using the example of the sun. So, when the sunlight comes, automatically we are able to see us, we are able to see the light, and we are able to see everything around us. So, similarly, when we want to remove the misconception, Srila Prabhupada also tells that there are two wrong conceptions. He tells that first wrong conception is of the Jivatma, means is that to identify material body with the soul. That is the first misconception. The second wrong conception is to think that the Lord is somehow equal with the living entity, that the Paramatma is somehow equal with the living entity. So these are the two misconceptions which we need to stay away from. And the only way in which we can do this is by doing Bhakti Yoga. So when we do Bhakti Yoga, if you see the last line of the first paragraph, he clearly mentions that the only in Bhakti Yoga, the real Atma Tattva or the science of Atma will be manifested. All other things will be deceptive. And in the next paragraph, so he is very nicely explaining that Lord Brahma did not do the tapasya just for seeing the form of the Lord. He really wanted to understand as to how to proceed with the creation because he did not have much clue. We will see more about that in the upcoming shlokas. So, since Lord Krishna really wanted to do his service properly, he meditated upon Lord Krishna and Lord Krishna manifested himself before him. So, it was not something for the purpose of show or just for the purpose of having darshan. So, it is for the deeper purpose for Lord Brahma to execute his service properly. And again, in the last line, it is very clearly told that only by Bhakti Yoga can we get this eternal knowledge. Hare Krishna. So the next couple of paragraphs, next one paragraph, can I request RB Prabhu? RB?
Sorry, I cannot read. It's on mobile.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. The summary is that due to
I will read,
ignorance.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
I can read it.
Yes, Prabhu.
The summary is that due to ignorance, the conditioned soul is encaged in the temporary varieties of material forms. But the Supreme Lord has no such temporary form like the conditioned souls. He is always possessed of an eternal form of knowledge and bliss. And that is the difference between the Lord and the living entity. One can understand this difference by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Brahma was then told by the Lord the gist of Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 original verses. Thus, Srimad Bhagavatam is not a creation of the mental speculators. The sound of Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental, and the resonance of Srimad Bhagavatam is as good as that of the Vedas. Thus, the topic of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of both the Lord and the living entity. Regular reading or hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam is also a performance of Bhakti Yoga, and one can attain the highest perfection simply by the association of Srimad Bhagavatam. Both Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit attained perfection through the medium of Srimad Bhagavatam. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, basically, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing the importance of what we are actually doing right now. So, the Srimad Bhagavatam is a sound incarnation, sound avatar, sound manifestation of Lord Krishna. So, when we listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, when we understand the messages, the shlokas, when we get the instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees, when we try to implement the instructions in the shlokas in our life, we are actually trying to purify ourselves. And this is exactly what Bhakti Yoga is all about. So this is exactly what is mentioned, that it is very important to dedicate some time on a daily basis for a proper reading of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. It can be just say 15 to 20 minutes, couple of shlokas of Bhagavad Gita and a couple of shlokas of Bhagavatam. So it is not going to take more than 15 to 20 minutes. So, but that Swadhyaya, so it will cleanse us of so many things, and it will gradually lead to removal of so many misconceptions. Hare Krishna. Let us move ahead, move on to the next shloka for the
Prabhu,
day. Yes, Prabhu.
this non-deceptive can be treated as a नाम अपराध, जैसे हम लोग जाप में नाम अपराध करते हैं.
No, Namaprad is different thing. This non-deceptive is basically doing Bhakti Yoga not for the purpose of spiritual upliftment, but with some other goal in mind. That is what is called as non-deceptive penance. Doing some service for show off, or doing something for getting a material benefit. So let us try to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra so that my daughter gets married, my son gets a good job, something like that. So doing a devotional service, but not with a spiritual upliftment or self-purification as a goal, but with something else as a goal. That is what is called as deceptive. So non-deceptive is doing things without doing service without any expectation. That is what is non-deceptive.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Now going into the next shloka for the day, second chapter, ninth, second canto, ninth chapter, shloka number 5. So, Prabhu, can you go up a little bit? I need to see the shloka. Hare Krishna. स आदिदेवो जगतां परो गुरु स्वधिष्ण्यम् आस्ताय Sikshayakshata tam nadyo gacchadrisham atra sammatam prapancha nirmana vidiryaya bhavet. So the meaning of the shloka, Lord Brahma, the first spiritual master, supreme in the universe, could not trace out the source of his lotus seat, and while thinking of creating the material world, he could not understand the proper direction for such creative work, nor could he find out the process for such creation. So when Lord Brahma was created, so when he manifested, when Lord Brahmaji looked around, so we all know that he came from the lotus navel of Lord Krishna. But from Lord Brahma's side, he could not understand. So he was seeing that he was able to see that he was sitting on a lotus, but he was not able to see from where is the source of this lotus. And then he knew that he was supposed to create the material world, but he did not know from where to start, proper direction and process, how to do that. So he did not know from where what was the source of the lotus, which was a seed, how to start the material creation, what are the things we should do, from where to start, and then what is the process, means how to do that. So all these things he could not figure out anything of that. So let us try to understand more or by going through the purports. We have only 2 paragraphs. Can I request Rao Prabhu to read the purport? Hare Krishna.
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Purport. This verse is the prelude for explaining the transcendental nature of the form and the abode of the Lord. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it has already been said that the supreme absolute truth exists in his own abode without any touch of the deluding energy. Therefore, the kingdom of God is not a myth but factually a different and transcendental sphere of planets known as the Vaikunthas. This will also be explained in this chapter. Such knowledge of the spiritual sky, far above this material sky, and its paraphernalia can be known only by dint of devotional service or bhakti yoga. The power of creation by Lord Brahma was also achieved by bhakti yoga. Brahmaji was bewildered in the matter of creation and he could not even trace out the source of his own existence. But all this knowledge was fully achieved by him through the medium of bhakti yoga. By bhakti yoga, one can know the Lord, and by knowing the Lord as supreme, one is able to know everything else. One who knows the supreme knows everything else. That is a version of all Vedas. Even the first spiritual master of the universe was enlightened by the grace of the Lord. So, who else can attain perfect knowledge of everything without the mercy of the Lord? If anyone desires to seek perfect knowledge of everything, he must seek the mercy of the Lord, and there is no other means. To seek knowledge on the strength of one's personal attempt is a sheer waste of time. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So basically, the last 2 lines are kind of summarizing the entire message in this particular shloka. So if anyone desires to seek perfect knowledge of everything, he must seek the mercy of the Lord. So we all have at so many points in our life, we just don't know where to go. And we sometimes try to do what we think is correct and end up doing the wrong thing or doing something which is not giving us the 100% results. So this is something which each and every one of us go through on a regular basis. So Srila Prabhupada is using the example of Lord Brahma to explain the importance of of the surrendering to Lord Krishna and accepting the knowledge from the scriptures. So we should not think that we know everything about religion. We should not think that we know everything about Lord Krishna. I know about Hinduism. I know about the Lord. I know this puja. I know that puja. So we should never think like that. So we should always think, we should always pray to Lord Krishna, oh, please bless me so that I can pray to you properly, so that I can worship you properly, so that I can do this properly, so that I can do this for the benefit of others. So, the thing which we need to understand is that Lord Brahma did not think, oh, Lord Krishna has given me the duty of creating this material world, which means I already know everything. Let me try to do whatever I think is right. Lord Brahma did not do like that. When he knew that he was not able to know from where to start, he was not able to know his source, he was not able to find the process, he started to meditate. We are going to see in the next shlokas. So the thing to understand and the thing to implement in our life is that we always should remember that Lord Krishna's mercy is required for each and every endeavor to come out in the correct way. So we should pray to Him so that whatever we do, please give me the mercy to do it properly, do it in your service, and to do it so that it can benefit others. Hare Krishna. Let us move on to the next shloka for the day. Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, 9th chapter, shloka number 6. So, Rao Prabhu, can you move up the screen? Hare Krishna. Rao Prabhu, are you there? Can you just scroll up the screen to shloka number 6? Hare Krishna. Sachintayan dvi aksharam ekadambasi upashruno dvirgatitam vacho vibuhu Sparsheshu yat sodasam ekavimsam nishkinchananam rupayat dhanam viduhu. So the meaning of the shloka is that while thus engaged in thinking what? He was unable to find out the source of his seat, which is basically the lotus. He did not know where to start, and he was also not able to figure out as to how to do it. So he was thinking about that. And in the water, the lotus was surrounded fully by water. There was nothing. It was fully empty. It was fully dark. Fully surrounded by water and fully dark. So we have to just imagine. While thus engaged in thinking in the water, Brahmaji heard twice from nearby two syllables joined together. So he heard the sound of two syllables. One of the syllables was taken from the 16th and the other from the 21st of the Sparsha alphabets, and both joined to become the wealth of the renounced order of life. So when he was thinking about what is the source of my lotus seed, where to start this process of creation, and how to do that, he heard two syllables. What are those two syllables? Those syllables are the 16th and the 21st of the Sparsha alphabets. And when those syllables are joined, it points to the renounced order. So Prabhupada is going to explain that. I don't want to break the suspense now. So Srila Prabhupada is going to explain that what are the Sparsha alphabets, what are the 16th and 21st alphabet, and when we join, what is it that it shows? Can I request Sushil Kumar Prabhu to read these two paragraphs, first two paragraphs? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. In Sanskrit language, the consonant alphabets are divided into two divisions, namely the Sparsh Varnas and the Talva Varnas. From Ka to Ma, the letters are known as Sparsh Varnas, and the 16th of the group is called Ta, Ta, whereas the 21st letter is called Pa. So when they are joined together, the word Tapa or penance is constructed. This penance is the beauty and wealth of the Brahmanas and the renounced order of life. According to Bhagavata philosophy, every human being is meant simply for this tapa and for no other business. Because by penance only one can realize his self, and self-realization, not sense gratification, is the business of human life. This tapa or penance was begun from the very beginning of the creation, and it was first adopted by the supreme spiritual master Lord Brahma. By tapasya only one can get the profit of human life, and not by a polished civilization of human animal life. The animal does not know anything except sense gratification in the jurisdiction of eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. But the human being is made to undergo tapasya for going back to Godhead, back home. When Lord Brahma was perplexed about how to construct a material manifestation in the universe and went down within the water to find out the means and source of his lotus seed, he heard the word tapa vibrated twice. Taking the path of tapa is the second birth of the desiring disciple. The word upsana note is very significant. It is similar to upnayan, or bringing the disciple nearer to the spiritual master for the path of tapa. So Brahmaji was thus initiated by Lord Krishna, and this fact is corroborated by Brahmaji himself in his book Brahma Samhita. In the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma has sung in every verse Govinda Adi Purusham Tamham Bhajami. Thus Brahma was initiated by the Krishna mantra by Lord himself, and thus he became the Vaishnav, or a devotee of the Lord, before he was able to construct the huge universe. It is stated that in the Brahma Samhita that Lord Brahma was initiated into the 18th letter Krishna mantra, which is generally accepted by all the devotees of Lord Krishna. We follow the same principle because we belong to the Brahma Sampradaya, directly to the reciprocal chain from Brahma to Narad, Narad to Vyas, and Vyas to Madhava Muni, from Madhava Muni to Madhvendra Puri, and Madhvendra Puri to Ishwara Puri, and from Ishwara Puri to Lord Chaitanya, and gradually to His Divine Grace, Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati, our Divine Master. I think
Hare
small
Krishna.
is left. Let me finish, Prabhu.
What is it, Prabhu?
Only 3 lines are left. Can I
Yeah,
finish?
Prabhu. Yes, please.
One who is thus initiated in the disciplic succession of life is able to achieve the same result or power of creation. Chanting of this holy mantra is the only shelter of the desireless pure devotee of the Lord. Simply by such tapasya or penance, the devotee of the Lord achieves all perfections like Lord Brahma. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, in this particular this thing, there is a different things which are told about Lord Brahma, and the meaning of tapasya is very nicely brought out. So, in Srila Prabhupada is very nicely telling about the Sanskrit alphabets, and he's talking about the Sparsha Varna and the Talavya Varna. And then in this Sparsha Varna and Talavya Varna, in this Sparsha Varna, there is a 16th and 21st alphabet. The 16th alphabet is Ta, and the 21st alphabet is Pa. And when we join both, it is tapa. And this tapa is basically the renounced order of life. And very nicely, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that this human form of life is not meant for sense gratification, it is meant for tapasya. So, this is one of the very important points which we need to understand. So, when it comes to Krishna consciousness, there is a very common, I don't know whether I should call it as a mental block or whatever it is. There is an idea that it is very tough. We have the 16 rounds of chanting per day. We have the four regulative principles. We also have in the four regulative principles, in addition to vegetarian, we should not take what is that, onion and garlic. And there is this Ekadasi Vrita. So overall, the practice of devotional service under the scriptures appears to be very tough. So this is what which we need to understand, that the importance of tapasya, the importance of austerity. So we may think that why we need to put ourselves into so much of discomfort. So this purport is the explanation, is the answer to that question. So one of the the human life, the other living entities, they don't do tapasya. So whenever they need, they just eat or sleep or do whatever they need according to their physical needs. But if the human being also does the same thing, what is the difference between us and the other forms of life? Ahara nidra bhayamaithunam cha samanyam yetat pasupe naranam dharmo hitesho atiko visesho dharme nahinah pasupe samanam. So ahara nitra bhayamaithunam cha samanyam means equal. Yetat, to pasupe naranam, to human beings and animals. Dharmo hitesho atiko visesho. The only thing which is unique, which is special to human beings, is dharma, religion. Dharme nahinah pasupe samanam. So if you don't follow dharma, so there is no difference between us and then animals. So this is exactly what is being emphasized in this purport and in the shloka, that we have to voluntarily accept austerity, because that is what is the purpose of human life. By doing austerity, we can purify ourselves. Doing austerity is not for showing others. Today I did Nirjala Ekadasi. I am following Chaturmasa Vratya. I am doing Bhishma Panchaka. No, this is not for the purpose of show off. This is for purifying ourselves. So when we do austerity, consciously our bodily needs definitely get reduced. But more than that, we understand, our mind gets purified, and we come more closer to Lord Krishna, because when we are sacrificing our bodily needs voluntarily, Lord Krishna reciprocates by cleaning our mind and heart. So that is the whole purpose of tapasya, and it has to be done voluntarily. So we need to understand that whatever is being laid down by Srila Prabhupada as part of this devotional service, the do's and don'ts, Prakriti and Nivritti, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 16 means 16 malas, 16 times 108 times, and then following the four regulative principles. These are all basic minimum requirements, and following the Ekadasi Vrita. So that these are all kind of tapasya, so that we gradually purify ourselves. Our mind, our heart has accumulated dirt from thousands and thousands of birth. So for cleaning that, this is the process. One of the main processes is tapasya. and we have to take it and we have to do it voluntarily, and that is the reason why a lot of importance of and stress is laid on that in ISKCON. Hare Krishna. Let us move to the next shloka for today. Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, 9th chapter, shloka number 7. निशम्य तद्वक्त्र दिदृक्षया दिशो विलोक तत्रान्यद् अपश्यमान स्वदिष्ण्यम् आस्ताय विमृश्य तद्दितं tapasi upadishta ivadate manaha. So the meaning of the shloka is that when he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all the sides. So when Lord Brahma heard the word tapa, he was trying to see as to where this sound is coming from, who is the speaker. But when he was unable to find anyone besides himself, he thought it wise to sit down on his lotus feet firmly and give his attention to the execution of penance as he was instructed. So he was hearing the word, he heard the word tapa 2 times. So he wanted to see as to where this sound is coming from, who is speaking that. So when he looked around, he could not find anyone besides him. It was only water and then complete darkness. So he had decided that instead of trying to find where this source is coming from, it is clear that this is an instruction. Let us try to do as instructed. So this is what is the adhering to the instructions of the scriptures, adhering to the instructions of Lord Krishna. Let us try to understand more or by Srila Prabhupada's purport. Can I request Nehal Mataji to read the first 2 paragraphs? Hare Krishna. Nehal Mataji, are you there? Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I can read, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. To achieve success in life, one should follow the example of Lord Brahma, the first living creature in the beginning of creation. After being initiated by the Supreme Lord to execute tapasya, he was fixed in his determination to do it. And although he could not find anyone besides himself, he could rightly understand that the sound was transmitted by the Lord himself. Brahma was the only living being at that time because there was no other creation and none could be found there except himself. In the beginning of the first canto, in the first chapter, first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it has already been mentioned that Brahma was initiated by the Lord from within. The Lord is within every living entity as the super soul, and he initiated Brahma because Brahma was willing to receive the initiation. The Lord can similarly initiate everyone who is inclined to have it. As already stated, Brahma is the original spiritual master for the universe. And since he was initiated by the Lord himself, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam is coming down by disciplic succession. And in order to receive the real message of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should approach the current link or spiritual master in the chain of disciplic succession. After being initiated by the proper spiritual master in the chain of succession, one should engage himself in the discharge of tapasya in the execution of devotional service. One should not, however, think of himself on the level of Brahma to be initiated directly by the Lord from inside, because in the present age, no one can be accepted to be as pure as Brahma. The post of Brahma to officiate in the creation of the universe is offered to the most pure living being. And unless one is so qualified, one cannot expect to be treated like Brahmaji directly. But one can have the same facility through unalloyed devotees of the Lord, through scriptural instructions as revealed in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam especially, and also through the bona fide spiritual master available to the sincere soul. The Lord himself appears as the spiritual master to a person who is sincere in heart about serving the Lord. Therefore, the bona fide spiritual master who happens to meet the sincere devotee should be accepted as the most confidential and beloved representative of the Lord. If a person is posted under the guidance of such a bona fide spiritual master, it may be accepted without any doubt that the desiring person has achieved the grace of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, two main aspects are coming out of this particular purport. So, in the first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is telling that Brahmaji, we should all follow the example of Brahma. So, even though he did not know from where the sound was coming, so he understood that it was the instruction of the Lord. So, many times in our life, instead of focusing on the instruction as such, we just try to find as to who is telling that. So, our first question, who told this? We try to evaluate the importance of the instruction, the importance of the idea, the importance of the opinion by the person who told it. This is normally what we try to do. So, very clearly in the first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is telling that we should not do this. The instructions which are coming from the scriptures himself, scriptures, and from the devotees, it should be followed. So this is something which is very important. So Lord Brahmaji gave us a practical example, a role model example, that instead of trying to find out as to who is giving the instruction, it is better to follow the instruction as such when we know that the instruction is right. Number one. And in the second paragraph of the purport, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains, just because Lord Brahma was initiated by Lord Krishna. There's a reference to the first canto, first chapter, first shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, that Lord Brahma was initiated by Lord Krishna. Brahma Adi Kavaye. So that is the word which is coming. So just because Lord Brahma was initiated by Lord Krishna, we should not think that I should also be initiated by Lord Krishna. So there is a lot of disciplic succession, and in the disciplic succession, there is the parampara. And if you go through the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, the parampara starting from Lord Krishna up to Srila Prabhupada is very clearly explained. And all the spiritual masters which are there today, they are all coming directly or indirectly from Srila Prabhupada. So this is something which we need to understand. When those spiritual masters give instructions, it is as good as coming from Lord Krishna. So let us go into the last shloka for today. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, 9th chapter, shloka number 8. Divyam sahasrabdam amoga darshano jitanilatma vijito bendriyaha atapyatasma kila lokatapanam tapastapiyam stapatam samahitaha. The meaning of the shloka is that Lord Brahma underwent penance for 1000 years by the calculation of the demigods. So in our Kali Yuga, it is in billions of years. Let us not go into that calculation. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky and he accepted it as divine. So when the word stapa came, he accepted that it is coming from the Lord himself and he accepted it as divine. Thus, he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances he executed were a great lesson for the living entities. So basically, it is a lesson for us that we should concentrate on the instruction than on the person. Thus, he is known as the greatest of all ascetics. So means he is one of the topmost person in terms of doing tapasya. Let us try to understand more by Srila Prabhupada's purport. Amit Prabhu, can you read the first two paragraphs? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma heard the occult sound tapa, but he did not see the person who vibrated the sound, and still he accepted the instruction as a beneficial from him, and therefore he engaged himself in meditation for 1000 celestial years. 1 celestial year is equal to 6 multiplied by 30 multiplied by 12 multiplied by 1000 of our years. His acceptance of sound was due to his pure vision of the absolute nature of the Lord, and due to his correct vision, he made no distinction between the Lord and the Lord's instruction. There is no difference between the Lord and sound vibration coming from him, even though he is not personally present. The best way of understanding is to accept such divine instruction, and Brahma, the prime spiritual master of everyone, is the living example of this process of receiving transcendental knowledge. The potency of the transcendental sound is never minimized because the vibrator is apparently absent. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or any revealed scripture is never to be accepted as an ordinary mundane sound without transcendental potency. One has to receive the transcendental sound from the right source, accept it as a reality, and prosecute the direction of without hesitation. The secret of success is to receive the sound from the right source of bona fide spiritual master. Mundane manufactured sound has no potency, and as such, seemingly transcendental sound received from an unauthorized person also has no potency. One should be qualified enough to discern such transcendental potency, and either by discriminating or by fortunate chance, if one is able to receive the transcendental sound from the bona fide spiritual master, his path of liberation is guaranteed. The disciple, however, must be ready to execute the order of the bona fide spiritual master, as Lord Brahma executed the instruction of his spiritual master. The Lord himself, following the order of the bona fide spiritual master, is the only duty of the disciple, and this completely faithful execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is the secret of success. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So basically, it is telling that we need to, first of all, accept the instruction. This is what we saw. And the second is that we should ensure that we get the instructions from a bona fide spiritual master. So again, the importance of going to false gurus is also emphasized. So the best thing is to go to a spiritual master who has come from the parampara, from the disciplic succession. So the last is a very small paragraph. So let me read it. Lord Brahma controlled his two grades of senses by means of sense perception and sense organs, because he had to engage such senses in the execution of the order of the Lord. Therefore, controlling the senses means engaging them in transcendental service of the Lord. The Lord's order descends in disciplic succession through the bona fide spiritual master, and thus execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is factual control of the senses. Such execution of penance in full faith and sincerity made Brahmaji so powerful that he became the creator of the universe. And because he was able to attain such power, he is called the best among all the tapasvis. So when we take the instructions of the spiritual master, when we execute the instructions, automatically it is told that we are controlling our senses. It is automatically considered as tapasya. So when we do that, our mind and heart gets purified so that we can experience the transcendental bliss. So as a brief summary of the 8 shlokas which we saw today, the first point is that there is no need to do post-mortem as to what is the time when we came from the spiritual world to material world. The only thing to understand is that having come here, let us try to get out of this as quickly as possible. So the only way is that to understand that we are the servants of Lord Krishna. We saw the two misconceptions, the lower misconception of mine, the higher misconception of I am the Lord. So the higher misconception is actually more dangerous than the lower misconception. We need to be free from both of that. And the only way to be free from both of that is Bhakti Yoga, is doing the devotional service. And then with Brahmaji's example, it is explaining that when Brahmaji saw that he could not see anyone else, he could not know he could not see where is the source of his lotus, from where to start and all those things. He saw those two words, tapa. So that explains tapa means tapasya. So the purpose of one of the main purposes of human life is to do tapasya and not to engage in sense gratification. And then last but not the least, Lord Brahma completely took the instructions as a divine instruction and he adhered to those instructions. He performed penance. So similarly, whatever instructions we receive from senior devotees, from our spiritual master, we should follow them. When we follow them, automatically our senses are getting controlled and we get purified. Hare Krishna, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So apologies, I have exceeded the time. So if there is if there is any doubts, please feel free to ask. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
Always. Yeah, if anyone has any questions. Prabhu, I had one doubt. It is said in, I think, 5th or 6th verse that Brahma tried to find out the source of his lotus, his seat, and he did not know how to do tapasya and all that. So I was wondering, by just hearing the word ta and pa, how did he understand what is the meaning of the word tapa and how it is supposed to be performed? And how did he actually get that determination to do it?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, very nice, wonderful question. So, that is what in the purport also it is explained. So, this intelligence of understanding that tapa means penance is also given by Lord Krishna. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, first shloka, which is also referenced in the purports, it is mentioned that Lord Krishna initiated Lord Brahma from within. So when that happens, Lord Brahma got the intelligence and understanding that this tapa means penance, that instead of searching for who has given this instruction, instead of searching what is the source of my lotus, let me do tapasya. So that this initial understanding of tapa means penance is also because he was internally initiated. Lord Brahma was internally initiated, and he was given that what is called as kick-off knowledge or battery starter from Lord Krishna by within. Hare Krishna.
Fantastic, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have a doubt, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Prabhuji,
Prabhu.
all this knowledge explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the creation and how the Brahma came into existence, it seems to be inconceivable, no? And we cannot think about how it should have happened. So, how to accept it, how to accept that one and take the benefit of it to in full extent.
Good question, Prabhu. Our intelligence is limited. The Lord and the Lord's creation is unlimited. So it is very a simple and common sense that it is difficult to understand the unlimited with limited, using limited. And Srila Prabhupada used to explain this with an analogy of a frog in a well. So Srila Prabhupada used to tell that, let us say that there is a frog in a well. If we go to the frog in that well and and explain the frog about the specific ocean, so the frog will try to understand everything based on the diameter of the top of the well, which that frog is able to see. It will never be able to understand what is the real Pacific Ocean which is being explained. So our position is exactly like that. We are like a frog in the well of the material world. So if we try to understand the unlimited cosmic manifestation with our limited intelligence, we can never understand. So only thing is we need to pray to Lord Krishna to give us the purification, to give us the opportunity to surrender at His feet and to serve Him. So when we surrender at His feet and when we serve Him, automatically that understanding is given to us. So this is told in the Chatur Shloka of Bhagavad Gita that it's the ninth shloka. It starts from when a person is 24/7. Tesam satata
Ekam satata
yuktanam
yuktanam
vadatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. So he says when a person is 24/7 dedicated and surrendered to Lord Krishna, Tesam Satata. Satata means 24/7. Tesam Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. Dedicated to what? He says Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. Dedicated to bhakti, and how? Priti Purvakam. So when someone is dedicated 24/7 to the service of the Lord in a loving way, what happens? Dadami buddhi yogam tam. He says the Lord gives intelligence. What kind of intelligence? To get the job of a CEO, to get a two-bedroom villa or 5-bedroom mansion. No. Yena mam upayanti te. By using that intelligence, that person can go back to him. And part of that intelligence is for understanding the cosmic manifestation, understanding the form of the Lord, understanding His qualities, understanding His pastimes, and understanding all the wonderful qualities of the devotees, so that we are giving the intelligence to understand all this, so that we can go back home, back to Godhead. So that intelligence we will get when we are surrendered to Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, many thanks for the wonderful class. Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna,
We would
Prabhu.
like
Hare
to
Krishna
have
Prabhu, thank you very much.
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna. Thank you,
Prabhuji, thank
Prabhuji.
you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you, Dandavat Pranam.
Mancha